This is a Darrow 10-foot truck. Good attitude services. Just got a 500-pound antique table with the help of like 3 other people into the house. It was amazing. We got that thing in. I mean, this table had to be probably from the 1800s. I've never quite seen wood solid. Like, the wood is amazing. So it was brutal. We had to do all kinds of finagling and to get the thing in. Using dollies and blankets, sliders, and wagons, and had to go up a hill and up a staircase, down a staircase. Never quite did anything like that yet. I moved a piano before, but that was a bit worse than a piano. Yeah, so that was pretty challenging. Moved 2 antique pieces today. Antique cabinet, antique table. But that table was brutal. I mean, I have yet. The only table that I moved was worse than that. Was a guy ordered a custom. It was a custom a table made out of solid concrete, which I've never seen ever again. I mean, I was surprised anyone actually made dining room tables out of concrete. I don't know if anyone's ever seen one of those things, but it was the first time I ever seen one. That was worse, but this almost came close because this wood was so old and solid, like from we're talking, it had to be the 1800s, the turn of the century. It was like petrified wood. The wood, I'm guessing it had like 6x4s, and it almost had like, it was like a beams going, solid wood beams, 9-foot table, so it wasn't just your average table. It was like almost like a workbench. Customers could use it as a dining room table, which is cool. But man, oh man, there's no way 2 people could have lifted that thing. I did a marble table once, and we lifted it up. We were able to move it a little bit, but we tried to take it upstairs, and we dropped it. It was so heavy. But this table, I can't imagine 2 people moving it. Normally most tables you can have 2 people. This table took 4 people, and even with 4 people, we couldn't really pick it up. Going upstairs, we had to kind of slide it and use the blankets and sliders. I mean, it was that heavy, and there was nowhere to grab it. So you always run into these things, these challenges when you're moving furniture and something like that. Like if I was if I was it was hard to take that to the dump, which most people would never dump an antique like that because it's just too valuable. But if I were to take that to the dump, I would have sawed that thing in pieces, because that was how heavy it was. But when you're moving something that's valuable, you have to be very careful with it. And so that was very, very challenging to get that thing. But we did it. So sometimes you come across these, and then next time I know, but it's weird because they're unique situations, like the way that the doorway was, the way that the whole house was made. You never come across. Every situation is different. Like it may have been easier if it was a straight walk. The door was straight in. There was no hallway. But now that situation, we had to actually take it around the back side, up some stairs, and so that's where it came. God, we're having a dust storm right now. There's dust everywhere. So this thing about moving, you will come across different challenges. And It helps to have been through many different ways of using dollars different ways, or like, oh, I can slide this or do that. There's always these different things that you'll come across and you'll remember it later. So it adds to your tools of situations. So when you come across another situation, you can think faster because you've been through something similar. So every time you do something that's extremely challenging like that, it helps you build a repertoire of knowledge for another time you might come across the table or something like that, where it won't be so stressful. It'll be like, oh yeah, I can figure that out. I can tip that aside. I could use this or that, use this dolly or that dolly, or whatever you have. So it's always valuable to challenge yourself when you're doing work. It's always something, right? We could have just given up and had hired a piano mover, so we just kept trying. So that's it for today. Heading home, sweaty and feel worn out. It's kind of I thought that was going to be an easier job than it was, but you never know. You got to come prepared. Like I brought one thing that helped me on this job. I had a special tool. You always want to, increase your tool. Get different tools, even if you're not going to use them. Because down the road, almost everything, I bring all my tools pretty much with me. In this case, we're sitting there trying to figure out how we're going to get this thing anywhere. It's so freaking heavy. It's almost impossible to lift with two people or even three. I wonder if we can slide it, and then we're figuring out we can slide on cardboard or whatever. And then I thought to myself, when I used to work for the consignment store, the guy gave me these long sliders, it's like this long with a rubber piece and a plastic on the bottom, like a vinyl plastic. And I used to use it for heavy tables and stuff. And I said, well, I brought that out, and that worked. Of course, if I had two of them, it would have been easier because this is a 9-foot table, so we needed at least two. So then I brought out my square sliders. We used that, plus we used cardboard and blankets. And then we used an old wagon where we could pop the thing on the wagon, we could roll it. So that slider really helped, and I haven't used that slider on a job. So I carry it with me. I hope I brought it with me. Oh shit, I hope I haven't left it there, but it's valuable. The last time I used that slider for any job was probably like 7 years ago or 6 years ago. So yeah, sometimes you use a tool and might not, maybe a decade later you might sit in your truck. But that one time you need it and you don't have it, then that's a problem, right? So that's why I bring pretty much all my tools on deliveries and removals. Just as many tools as I can bring. Of course, some you can't bring every single tool, but try to bring the necessary tools. Of course, I'm running out on sliders because the customer needed them to move stuff around. I told him you can keep them. I'll get more. In fact, I got a bunch of them for free on a storage clean out. I got a bunch of blankets and sliders and moving tools on a storage clean out. So sometimes I just leave the blankets at the customer's house because I got so many of them. I got hundreds of them. And I got like 50 or 60 of those sliders, so it's not like I need them all, but eventually I'll just have to go buy some more. They get worn out after a while if you're dragging them on the cement, and you need to buy new ones to get them the smoother ones. So eventually I have to buy some more. You get them at Home Depot, I think. Probably order them online. Now I'm probably cheaper online. So that's a tool that came in handy. Something I haven't brought out in a while. And that's my point, is that when you're transporting things and moving things, it's not as easy as just lifting something. And some stuff is just so ridiculously heavy. You need some sort of straps. I have harnesses, straps sometimes. That might have helped a little bit in that case, but in order to use this harness and strap, you got to be really, really strong. And sometimes it's better just to be able to slide it if you're not going to be using a lot of stairs. Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple times where I had to actually rent a vending machine dolly to move, like a vending machine. You can't just move a regular dolly. You can't move a vending machine. I've had to move an 800-pound vending machine, and I moved like 500 and 600-pound safes, like gun safes. I had to rent a dolly for that because the regular dolly it's not gonna cut it. You gotta have a special dolly for that. So in those cases, I'm not gonna go buy. I mean, it's probably good if you had the money to go buy like a gun safe dolly or a vending machine dolly. But I've only moved one vending machine, and I've moved like maybe 3 or 4 safes. Gun safes are they're more common than a vending machine. I've moved like video games, those old 1980s video games. You can use a regular dolly with that, but they have those dollies for rent at the equipment rental. So sometimes it's better to do that. But one thing to have, you really want to have an appliance dolly. You really want to have a box dolly. You really want to have a four wheel dolly and a 4-wheeler dolly, and another extra box dolly. Those are imperative. And anything else other than that, as far as dollies, it's up to you. But it helps. In this case, I can't imagine this table is so heavy. I don't even know the weight. I'm guessing 500 pounds. It could have been 700 pounds. I'm guessing 500 pounds. In fact, the guy who was helping me said, yeah, it's got to be 500. Because if you can't lift it up, 2 people, and get it even off the ground just barely moving it, that's got to be 500 pounds. It's like moving a piano. This thing was solid thick. It's a King Arthur table. In that case, it really isn't. You don't have much of a choice. I mean, unless you have 5 people, 4 or 5 really strong piano movers, you can't put something like that on a dolly. There's not much choice in that. You have to, another way to do it. Sometimes you have to do with big things like that. I came across a marble table that was probably 400 pounds, and me and one guy tried to move it upstairs, but I was like, it just wasn't going to work. And the only thing I could think of is having a crating company crate it, a really solid crate, like you're going to crate it to move it across, like ship it, and then you hook straps onto, you screw straps onto the side of the crates, some kind of canvas straps, where one guy can be one side, one guy on the other. And one on the, where you have a way to lift it. There are I've seen on YouTube, there are these piano dollies that you can actually get some really heavy stuff like that, where you can put it on its side, and it's like one of those glass holders, and it holds onto it. It has wheels and it's mechanical, and it's electronic, so you can actually press these electronic. It has wheels that climb stairs. I can't even tell you how much a dolly like that would cost, or even if you could rent one. So if you're moving pianos all the time, I would suggest to buy one of those mechanical robotic dollies that's a mechanical one, because that's going to save your back. I wouldn't want to be lifting. I've done pianos, and we had a piano sled where you can strap the piano. Now, piano will sit on its side on a sled, and you can strap canvas straps across it, and then you can strap a 4-wheel dolly or 2 4-wheel dollies on the bottom of the sled, and you can roll it. And then when you need to climb stairs, if you can't really roll it up the stairs, the sled has a slide. It slides up the stairs, depending on what kind of stairs. I mean, if you have stairs that are not scratch, you don't want to do that. But yeah, most stairs you could slide it. I've had to slide over 3 flights of stairs, and you can slide it down. But it's still very, very hard on your body. On a table, you can't sit on its side like that. It won't stand like that. It just doesn't. It won't hold. So you have to physically push the thing. So in that case, there's not an alternative that I can see or I can think of other than straps. I don't even know if you could crate something like that. It wouldn't even matter. It's too heavy. Yeah, you'll come across stuff like that. I came across pool tables are another thing. People hire me to move pool tables, and with the slates, like the full professional with the slates, and they're those things got to be. Some of them are way over 500 pounds. In that case, I've had to turn down jobs like that because they were going upstairs. I had one guy, he actually forklifted into the truck, so that was easy because he forklifted the slate into the truck. But we had to get it out, and I remember getting out of the truck and getting help and sliding that thing across because they wanted to put it in the garage, and it was brutal. I mean, those things were heavy, but some things you just have to manhandle. I don't do pool tables anymore. But yeah. I mean, I would suggest if you come across something like that where it's like 500 pounds and you can't really put it on a dolly, just tell the customer, you're going to need piano movers, or you're going to need at least 4 professional movers with equipment that have done this before, so they don't hurt themselves, or because I don't want to, get injured. Luckily, though, there was some people that could come and help, and we were able to do it, but because you can't even forklift something like that. I mean, it's the way the terrain was. You couldn't even use machinery like that. There's nowhere you get into the back of the yard. It just wouldn't work. Sometimes even machinery won't be it's inefficient. Sometimes just getting a bunch of people and lifting it. That's all you can do. I can tell you one thing, that table's not going anywhere. That's going to stay there permanently. Alright, finally home. Got gassed up, ready to go for the next job. I'm supposed to be doing some kind of removal. I just haven't gotten a quote back. I quoted it, but I haven't gotten the response. Finally cooling down. It was like in the 80s earlier. Finally cooling down. Okay, back at home. Good Attitude Services, 10-foot